I had an affair with a foreign student. He used me for a green card, and now my husband of 9 years is gone. Posted by you/green card regret. I'm sitting in the living room of the house I used to share with my husband, Stephen. Except it's not a house anymore. It's a collection of boxes and memories. Most of the furniture is gone. His clothes are gone. The photos of us from our trips to Italy and Costa Rica are packed away in a box labeled Miscellaneous 9 Years of Marriage, reduced to a miscellaneous box. And it's all my fault. If you had asked me a year ago, I would have said my life was perfect. I was 34, married to Stephen, 36, a kind, funny, and incredibly decent man. We had a comfortable life. We both had good jobs. I'm an academic advisor at the local university. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our shared history. Life was stable. It was good, and I was bored out of my mind. It wasn't Stephen's fault. He was the same man I fell in love with. But our marriage had settled into a low, steady hum. The passion had cooled into a comfortable companionship. We were partners who ran a household. We'd talk about work, about bills, about what to watch on Netflix. The electricity was gone. I felt less like a wife and more like a roommate. I felt predictable. Invisible. I craved a spark, a jolt, anything to make me feel like the main character in my own life again. Then I met Kaito, 24M. He was a new international student from Kyoto, studying graphic design. He was assigned to me for advising, and he walked into my office like a lightning strike. He was handsome, with sharp, intelligent eyes and an easy, infectious laugh. He was charmingly lost, asking questions about American slang and where to get the best coffee. Our first meeting, which should have been 30 minutes, stretched to an hour and a half. He didn't just ask about class schedules, he asked about me. What music did I like? What were my passions outside of work? He listened with an intensity that made me feel fascinating. It started there. He would happen to be near my office around lunchtime. We'd eat together in the campus quad. He'd tell me about his family in Japan, his dream of working for a big design firm in New York. I'd tell him about my boring suburban life, and he'd find it captivating. He made me feel worldly and wise. He also made me feel beautiful. He'd compliment my dress, the way my eyes lit up when I talked about art, a subject I hadn't discussed with anyone in years. The line blurred so fast I didn't even see it coming. A coffee after work turned into dinner. Dinner turned into him showing me his design portfolio in his small, sparse apartment. He put on some music, and we talked for hours. He touched my hand, and a jolt went through me that I hadn't felt since my first date with Stephen. The affair was a reckless, exhilarating escape. With Kaito, I wasn't a 34-year-old woman in a comfortable but stale marriage. I was vibrant, desired, and alive. He was so passionate, so attentive. He would write me little notes in Japanese and then translate them. They were full of poetry and adoration. He made me believe I was his entire world. A few months in, the reality of his student visa started to creep into our conversations. He'd get melancholy, talking about how he'd have to leave after graduation. "I can't imagine my life without you, Jenna," he'd say, his voice thick with emotion. "It feels like I finally found where I belong, and now I have to leave." He planted the seed so subtly. He talked about how impossible it was to get a work visa, how the only real path to staying was through marriage. He never said, "Marry me." He was smarter than that. He'd say things like, "In a perfect world, we could just be together. No visas, no borders. Just us." He made it feel like a shared dream, a tragic romance thwarted by bureaucracy. He made me feel like I was the key to his happiness, his future. I was so deep in the fantasy that I started to believe it was my own. I convinced myself that this intense, all-consuming feeling was true love, and what I had with Stephen was just a comfortable habit. I deserved to be happy, didn't I? I deserved this kind of passion. The night I told Stephen is a blur of shame. He had just come home from a business trip, bringing me my favorite pastries from a bakery he'd gone out of his way to find. He was happy. I sat him down on the couch, our couch, and the words just tumbled out. "I want a divorce. I've met someone." The look on his face will haunt me for the rest of my life. It wasn't anger. It was a complete and utter shattering. The confusion in his eyes was the worst part. "Met someone? What are you talking about?" "We were just planning our vacation for our anniversary." He didn't understand. He thought we were happy. And we were, in our own way. But I had thrown a grenade into it. "I'm so sorry, Stephen," I whispered, unable to look at him. He just shook his head, a single tear tracing a path down his cheek. 9 years, Jenna. You're throwing away 9 years for who?" I couldn't answer. I had just detonated my life, and all I could do was stand in the rubble, clinging to the promise of a man I had known for 6 months. I walked out that night and went to Kaito's apartment. He held me while I cried, whispering that I'd made the right choice, that our real life could finally begin. And I believed him. I had to for a green card, and now my husband of 9 years is gone. Believing Kaito was my future was easy when he was a thrilling secret. Living it was another story. The divorce was brutal. Stephen, understandably, was beyond hurt. He was furious. Our friends took his side. My own family was appalled. "You're throwing away a good man for a boy." My mother had yelled at me over the phone. I became an island, with Kaito as my only inhabitant. He was my justification for everything I'd lost. We got married 3 months after my divorce was finalized. It was a sterile, 10-minute ceremony at the courthouse. No family, no friends. Just us and 2 strangers as witnesses. I wore a simple white dress and tried to feel romantic, but a knot of anxiety was tightening in my stomach. Kaito was ecstatic. He held my hand, kissed me deeply on the courthouse steps, and said, "Now we can be together forever. No one can ever separate us." It was everything I thought I wanted to hear, but it sounded rehearsed. Life as a married couple began. We moved into a new, smaller apartment that I paid for with my share of the house sale. And almost immediately, things began to change. The passionate, attentive lover started to fade, replaced by a polite, preoccupied roommate. The long, deep conversations disappeared. He was always busy with his studies, but his grades started to slip. The poetic notes stopped, then came the green card application. It became our entire life. It was a mountain of paperwork, and I was the lead climber, pulling him along. I gathered financial documents, wrote long affidavits about the legitimacy of our love, and compiled a photo album full of staged, happy pictures of us. For me, it was a chronicle of our love story. For him, it was evidence. He was diligent about it, but with a cold efficiency that unnerved me. He wasn't celebrating our life together, he was building a case. The interview with the USCIS officer was terrifying. I was a nervous wreck, terrified they would see through us. But Kaito was incredible. He was charming, earnest, and knew every detail about me I had ever shared. He talked about how he fell in love with my kindness, my intelligence. He was so convincing that even I, with my growing doubts, started to believe him again. We passed. He got his 2-year conditional green card. The relief was immense, but it was short-lived. With the green card in his wallet, Kaito changed. It was a slow fade at first. He got a full-time job at a trendy design agency downtown. He started staying out late for work events. He had a new circle of friends I never met. He became secretive with his phone, angling it away from me whenever he used it. When I tried to talk to him about the distance between us, he'd accuse me of being insecure. "I'm finally building the life we talked about," he'd say. "You should be happy for me. I was paying for everything, the rent, the bills, the groceries." He said he was saving his money for our future. I was so desperate to believe the dream wasn't a lie that I accepted it. I ignored every red flag. The 2 years passed in a blur of quiet desperation on my part and growing indifference on his. The final step was filing to have the conditions on his residency removed. More paperwork, more proof. We went through the motions. A few months later, a letter arrived. He was approved. He was now a permanent resident of the United States. That night, he was the old Kaito again. He cooked me dinner, opened a bottle of wine, and told me how much he appreciated everything I had done for him. He held me, and for one stupid, hopeful night, I thought we had made it. I thought the stress was finally over and we could get back to us. A week later, I came home from work to a silent, empty apartment. His closet was cleared out. His laptop was gone. His design awards were gone. All that was left was a white envelope on the kitchen counter with my name on it. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely open it. Inside was a short, typed note. No emotion, no sentiment. "Jenna, thank you for everything. I am grateful for the help you gave me to start my life here. I am sorry for any pain this causes, but I need to move on. I have met someone else. Please don't try to contact me. Kaito." That was it. 9 years of marriage destroyed. My family alienated. My finances ruined. My heart shattered. All for a thank you note and a lie. He didn't love me. He loved what I could do for him. I wasn't his soulmate, I was his sponsor. I was a stepping stone on his path to the American dream. I'm back in the house I shared with Stephen, just for a few more days until the new owners take possession. I'm packing up the last of my things. I found the box labeled miscellaneous last night. I opened it and saw a photo of Stephen and me on our wedding day. We were so young, so happy, so blissfully unaware of how easily it could all be broken. The person who made that choice, who threw all that away for a cheap thrill and a fantasy, feels like a stranger to me now. But I have to live with her choices. I have to live in the wreckage she created. I don't know where to even start picking up the pieces.